We're going to look at an example of writing the equation of a rational function given the following characteristics. The vertical asymptote is x equals 0, the oblique asymptote is y equals negative 2x, and the x-intercepts are positive and negative 3. Recall that the vertical asymptotes are from the zeros of the denominator, and the x-intercepts are from the zeros of the numerator. So with that in mind, let's get a function started. For the numerator, the factors need to be x plus 3 and x minus 3. And for the denominator, we need just x. And then we should have some leading coefficient, which we have not yet identified. Now, how do we determine the oblique asymptote? Let's think about that. The oblique asymptote is given by dividing the numerator by the denominator. So, in lesson 3.3, we talked about the division algorithm. Okay, in the division algorithm, we talked about how if you take one polynomial and you divide it by another polynomial, you get some polynomial q plus the remainder over the divisor. Well, in this circumstance, q is the oblique asymptote. And then our remainder, we don't know what that is, but the divisor is x. So let's use that to set up an equation where we can write f of x as the oblique asymptote, negative 2x, plus the remainder over the divisor, x. From here, we can use additional information to solve for r and find out what it is. Before we do that though, let's write this function as a single fraction. So to do that, we need to get a common denominator. Let's think of negative 2x over 1, and we're going to multiply by x over x, so that we get negative 2x squared plus r all over x. Now, let's revisit those x-intercepts. The x-intercepts tell us when x equals 3, or when x equals negative 3, that y equals 0. So f of 3 equals 0, and f of negative 3 equals 0. Again, this is x and y. When x equals 3, y equals 0. When x equals negative 3, y equals 0. So let's use that and our expression here above. So let's say that 0 equals negative 2 times 3 squared plus r all over 3. Well, I can multiply both sides by 3 and get 0 equals negative 2 times 9 plus r, which is 0 equals negative 18 plus r, and r is 18. Now, if I do the same thing using f of negative 3 equals 0, let's make sure we get the same r. So 0 equals negative 2 times negative 3 squared plus r all over negative 3. I can multiply by negative 3 on both sides. 0 equals negative 2. I'm going to simplify negative 3 squared to be 9 plus r. Again, we're going to have 0 equals negative 18 plus r, and r equals 18. So if we put 18 back into our expression that we have here in black, we can give a final answer of f of x equals negative 2 x squared plus 18 over x. Now, this can be our final answer. However, just to show that it's the same as what we started with, this is, if we factor the numerator, we get negative 2 times x squared minus 9 all over x. And then if we factor x squared minus 9, we get negative 2 times x plus 3 times x minus 3 all over x. And you'll see that that's the same as what we said above before we found out what that leading coefficient would be. However, we're going to give our final answer as f of x equals negative 2x squared plus 18 all divided by x.